Hello, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, founder of Antarctic Press, a comic book publishing company founded in 1985, still in business even today. I'm also a creator of such comics as Ninja High School, Warrior Nun, Marvel Mangaverse, and a host of other comic books of that kind. So, my clickbaity headline is how do we make comics cool to kids? I think one of the reasons why comics, or at least American comics, don't seem to have the same appeal as they once did is that they're no longer cool. I mean, kids, even today, like things that are cool, sort of sets them apart, you know, find their individuality. Maybe reading comics is stuff that their parents used to do or their grandparents used to do. How do we convince kids today that reading American comics is cool again? Well, that's a difficult question to ask. You know, people will say, "Well, Ben, kids are reading manga. Maybe they think the manga is cool." Well, maybe so, but how does that benefit the American comic industry? Not very much, other than getting a generation of kids growing up reading manga. But what was it about manga that attracted them to begin with? Fundamentally, we have to look into see why manga went from a single niche category to this juggernaut that we are experiencing today. I for one have always been infatuated with manga. When I first discovered it way back in 1976, when I went to Taiwan, with my family that's where I discovered a cornucopia of bootleg manga that was being reprinted in Taiwan. And the beauty of it was that it was very cheap to obtain. Now, of course, when you're bootlegging something, basically essentially pirating it, you can afford to sell it dirt cheap. And that was the situation at the time when I was in Taiwan. But the beauty of it, that's how I discovered manga. I was able to afford to purchase large quantities of manga that was available in Taiwan. I even saw American comics there as well. I unfortunately didn't get any. I should have, because they would have been quite a collector's item even today, because I saw various Marvel and DC comics in Taiwanese, and I didn't pick them up at the time, not thinking that'd be worth anything. Big mistake. But I digress. So the thing is how do we, as independent comic creators, attract younger readers? Now, that may not be your main goal, is to attract younger readers. Your main goal as a creator is to make as much money as humanly possible with your creation aimed at a specific audience. But we as creators, are able to do that because we can target our comics and creations to a specific audience and sell directly to that audience. We are selling, a lot of independent creators are selling comics directly to individuals who can afford, $10, $15, $20, at a pop. I think the thing is that how do we make comics appeal to younger readers if you're a publisher? That's really what it comes down to. Individual creators can do their own thing because that's what they're able to do, their own thing. They can just create whatever they want, aimed at whatever audience they want, charge whatever they want, and basically that's what it comes down to, So, but as a publisher, we're concerned about, the ever dwindling readership that American comics are experiencing. Now, how do we make them cool again? Well, now that's a difficult question to ask, because first we have to make comics available. The thing is that since comic books have abandoned the newsstand strategy, in bookstore strategy of selling periodicals, it's become less and less available to younger readers. Now, not every town has a comic book store, but I tell you what, every town has a 7-Eleven, every town has a grocery store, every town has a drugstore. Those are all venues that used to carry periodicals. I would challenge the mainstream distributors and the mainstream comic book publishers to try once again to attempt to try to get comics into those venues, to make it available again, to appeal to to make it disposable entertainment again, an impulse buy, because that's what comics are essentially. They're not meant to be high dollar, expensive forms of entertainment. They were supposed to be disposable, and they're supposed to provide quick, cheap entertainment. And I think that's where we lose our fun. Now, people will say, well, Ben, maybe it's no longer viable to do cheap comics. Well, maybe so. But the $1 that used to be the cost of a comic, now, I mean, it can be done if we somehow find a way to print as cheaply as possible. Now, the thing about comics is that it was a periodical. It was out every month, or at least on some sort of schedule. This was to get kids into the habit of going to their local newsstand and finding out what's new on the stands. That was the main attraction of the comic books back in the day, that something new was going to come out every week. So it made it a habit to go to the newsstand. Now, I contend that digital, people seem to say, oh, but Ben, kids are reading it all on digital. Well, I contend to you that you can make comics, attractive again by touting the fact that they will own the comic, and that, what you could do is you could do digital, but only do part of the story, and use it as a selling point, as advertising. Say, if you want to read the rest of the story, go down to your local comic book store or newsstand and pick out pick up the rest of the story. So the content has to be attractive enough to get the kids to want to read the rest of the story. The thing about manga is that manga is manga is usually done by a single creator. I mean, you'll notice that manga has a shelf life. Unless a creator does something outstanding, 99% of the manga that's being created, are created and then just forgotten. They move on to the next thing. Very few manga creators reach the level where they can continue to sell, 5, 10, 15 years down the line. Very few of them do. And they have to be of such unique talent that they somehow stand the test of time. And also, just the whole manga industry is different in that creators are allowed to own their creation, as opposed to here, if you create something for the big two, they automatically own it. Now, I'm sure that's changed since then, but my understanding is that they still own part of whatever a creator creates for them. But regardless of that, how do we attract younger readers to back into comic books? And I always contend it's all about the content. It's got to be content first. It's got to be distribution second. You got to have reach. You got to make kids aware that there are comics to begin with. I bet a lot of kids nowadays don't even know that comics exist. That they're still being published because they're not exposed to it. And if they don't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind. The reason manga is so prevalent is because they see it when they go to the bookstore with their mom and dads, and it's prevalent, on the internet, we need to do the same thing. We need to go ahead and try to expose more and more comic and tell kids the availability of the content that we're creating. I've always thought that it would be cool, and I saw something on Facebook a couple of days ago that Marvel used to advertise nationally on TV their comics. They would actually buy ads on TV to let kids know that the latest comic book came out. Maybe what we could do as an industry is do a sort of a national ad campaign to let people know, and especially kids know, that you can buy comics at your local comic book store and at newsstands if such a venture were to be taken up. Sort of like when industries get together to make people aware of their product in order to get them to buy more of their product. It can be something done as a collective if we really wanted to. We could probably do it. Imagine if we had bought a space in the Super Bowl where we tell the world that American comics are still being produced, and that to have fun and adventure and things like that to their nature, and hopefully get more customers in. So the thing is that in order for us as an industry, for comics to survive, is that we have to start letting the younger generation know that comics are available. I think that we still need to learn to read, until we get to the point where maybe we have robots and AI translate everything for us. But for now, reading is still fundamental. We still need to learn how to. We still teach it in schools, because that's the one basic form of communication that we can all agree on. That we can all sort of collectively come together on. And comics is a great way for kids to not only learn how to read, but to also activate their imaginations and take them into worlds that will stimulate their thought processes. Now, I will tell you, the comics are, essentially a visual medium, and it may affect one gender or another. I don't know. I assume that I don't know if anyone's done any research on it, but I don't know what the ratio is to male to female as far as reading comics are concerned. So maybe one of the things that we may want to look into is how do we attract, what kind of comics should we create to attract, the most number of readers that is possible. And the thing is that, comics need to be something that will attract kids, and I'm not saying that all comics should do that, but there has to be certain comic reach that makes it cool again. Comics used to be stuff that kids would dive right into, and identify right away. I think, and also that a lot of kids are confused by the way comics are produced these days. There's no more singular storylines, self-contained stories, that used to, at one time, one of the best-selling comics was the Donald Duck comics, and the cartoon comics that used to come out. Kids love those. We don't see those very often anymore. And that's one of those things that has sort of disappeared from the marketplace, and that needs to return. I know some creators are doing their best to try to attract, new younger readers, but it's a difficult road to plow because, without reach or distribution, their books are not being exposed to the readers that they're intended for. So there are things that we, I think, collectively as an industry can do to make comics cool again. We can make comics really. Uh, Unless we can provide an alternative to manga is going to eat American comics for lunch. You know, we have to be able to recreate comics that not only are attractive to new generation of readers, but we have to look within ourselves as to what it is that is making manga so popular. I mean, these are not even color comics; they're just black and white comics. I think a lot has to do with just the simplicity of the artwork and the simplicity of the storytelling. They're very uh, they're very direct in how they tell their story. They don't and since they're creator driven, the creator wants to create as best comic as they possibly can. They're not agenda driven. And they are the only sole purpose for them to exist is to entertain. And that's the thing, is that we need to make comics attractive enough to younger readers that they will start to gravitate back into comics. I mean, comics do sell. People always point out Dogman and all those other things. And we just have to do comics that will continue their trend into reading comics. Now, what is it about Dogman that attracts them? Well, I think it's availability. Dogman is printed by a very large company that presents it in a format that is affordable not only to parents, but is available everywhere. We may want to reconsider how we present our comics. I mean, I still believe in the periodical because I just like the idea of doing continuing stories on a regular basis, and but imagine if Dogman was a periodical, where it could be bought for very, very little money, in 7-Elevens, in grocery stores and other venues of that nature. It may start creating a whole new generation of readers. But anyway, what do you think? What do you suggest that we should do to make comics cool again? And how can we make them so that younger readers will be attracted to American comic books? Comment below, see what you can come up with, and please like and subscribe if you like this content. Until next time, this has been Dunn signing off.